Hey, Seamus, just a bit of a brief. We did log your last laps and just wanted to basically show you what kind of things we found. This is neither going to be how to go faster or how to adopt a better lap. It's just literally some, what would you say, some summarizing information. In yellow is an ex-BSB rider. His name is Fred McMullen. He was a junior rider. Currently, this yellow trace is a ZX636. So a couple of things to capture from this. So Paddock Hill Bend, there's actually not a big difference. You're only about 6k off in terms of a target to enter into Paddock Hill down here, right? That 6k literally robs you when you're coming up the hill, that kind of way. So this peak velocity could have been more if more corner speed was carried before, obviously, that kind of way. You're matching him like for like on the brakes here. This trace is nearly identical. There's actually no split even here, So that's pretty good. I have to be aware that your bike is a lot heavier, hence you brake just a touch earlier, and you've came in faster as well. So, that's totally acceptable. The reason I brought Fred's data in is because I know that he got clean laps and there was no one in the way, whereas when I see bumps in your acceleration here and bumps on your deceleration and an odd squiggle like this, I can actually tell that, someone's bugging you and you haven't got a clean run at the track, which is totally fine. Like I said, this is not criticism. This is just having a look at what sort of things we can find. So Fred's apex speed here is about 63. You're still at this point, by the way, if I zoom in, we're just about mid-corner, if you see there. So just when we arrive past mid-corner, your line is nearly like for like with Fred's, by the way. So no big deal there. You're still slowing the bike down beyond where Fred has picked up the throttle, if you like. So Fred's just gone on 2 or 3 bike lengths here. However, he's done that little distance on maintenance throttle. I'm aware you don't have traction control, so I'm not going to make any comment on that. Basically, you're the one that's doing a very good lap time here. And to be honest, to do that with no traction, kudos. I have no criticisms. This 55k an hour, that is not actually standard for you. You have been well able to get up there with the 65k an hour zone as well. Like I said, it's very obvious someone's holding you up here on this lap because I checked all other laps and you've had great velocities through the corner. So it's frustrating when someone's in your way, obviously. Green lap here. I suppose this is coming down the hill into number 3. So yeah, holding a nice sweeping arc. Your exit is robbed again. It looks like you tried to go up the inside of the guy here. So you're obviously in green. And you tried to take the guy on the run out of here. And he's pushing wide. You're getting a good look up the inside. But again, I wouldn't be too concerned about that. What we want to check is that you're downhill with a heavier bike. And you're only braking. That's 1061 meters at the top of the screen here if you look. Yeah, and then Fred has braked at 1074 meters. So basically, Fred's only braking 13 meters later, but he has a much lighter machine. So, and he's not going in with the same velocity. Your entry speed in there is actually, yeah, about 8-9 kilometers per hour higher on a heavier bike. So I've got no issues there either. Matching him like for like, coming down here. You see that you're roughly the same speed. It's probably 1k in it, 2k an hour. No big deal, So you'll have to bear with me on the visual for turn 2, but this is braking zone into turn 2. So this uphill here is coming out of Paddock Hill, and that's braking on the uphill zone right there. This here is what I want to look at, okay? This is your longitudinal acceleration, which is basically braking, okay? So, in essence, both of you get to a close maximum, right? So you're matching a BSB guy here. So negative 1.4 G, you're sitting in there just fine. Was it yellow is the ZX636. So actually, sorry, your actual braking effort is more than the BSB guy, which is good. Okay. The only thing I can say, which is in any way different, and again, it's all, it's relative to whatever machine, that because you've braked a little bit earlier, your first initial peak is down here if you have a look, right? And that there is negative 1.1 G, right? Both of you actually back off the brake just a touch before you start turning in and then get into a higher level of braking. So there's obviously something in the track that's causing that. And you both arrive at the same upper peak over here. You see where they just crossed for a moment? Right, I've got a mouth there. Basically, yeah, so you both arrive at the exact same point. So you're treating the track the exact same. Fred's initial braking is, because it's just a touch later, he arrives at a higher peak just down there if you look. Right, so that there is going to be negative 1.3 G. So Fred just being a tad more aggressive on the brakes there. So I don't know, again, I'm not on the bike, but perhaps that could be carried forward. Now let's see another one here. We can actually start to look at things like maximum lateral acceleration. So this is your G-force in the corner, you know, and the minimum as well is a similar number, and that's because one is left and one is right. What it appears to be is that both you and Fred favour a right-hand corner, and the left-handers, perhaps it's a track thing. Obviously, the second left doesn't really have as much of a curve, and the first left that you experience in this track is actually down a hill, and it's quite a complex piece of track, you know, the kind of way. So I'm not terribly worried about these figures. However, they are comparable. So Fred is hitting 1.7 G in the corner and negative 1.4. What I'm going to do then is close off your lap. Sorry, close off Fred's lap. And then your values will populate in there. And then what we see is very similar values. Sorry if I said they were different. GPS lateral, you're actually pulling 1.8, and then you can get as much as negative 1.54. So it's appearing to be something in the track. So just nice values to have on paper, really. There's nothing too serious to come out of this. I did check your lean angle as well, by the way. Let's see if I can get that here. So I've got more data there. There's a whole heap of channels here. We have different levels of acceleration, lean angle calculated as well, you know, the kind of way. And I can check these on every single lap. And where it first appeared in your fastest lap that you weren't cornering as hard on the left-handers, you actually made up for that in every other lap. So if I can click on as many of these at one time as I like, and the graphs just get busier and busier, as you can see. But when I actually go to look at your lean angle, I've got two little peaks down here. And what actually does look like it's coming up, we'll just pan across here to that little point. 2 seconds now. Basically, there, those two little peaks there. You see that there is actually a very, very, very good trend line between your laps. And as a matter of fact, it was your fastest lap for the guy that's blocking you. He just robbed you of two values. But every other lap you had was actually pretty much bang on in terms of your like for like, left and right, you know, the kind of way. So you're able to achieve something like negative 58 degrees here, you know, the kind of way. And that just depends on what lap I've got highlighted. As a matter of fact, your best lap didn't have the maximum amount of lean, in fairness. Like I said, it's hallmark of someone that's completely robbing you. But yeah, and then even in that, the difference in time, basically it's all pretty much the same. This particular part of the track here is costing you time. So if green is your reference as your fastest lap, the other laps are losing time. The graph is moving up here. So this particular point here, you can see that there's a trend here where your graph moves upwards and across. That's costing you time here, whatever it is. So from there, if I go into the map, it'll show me that it's the entry into the final corner. So let's try and see if I can work out why. So what it might appear to be is that on the entry into this section, and why wouldn't it be? It looks like initially, as this graph moves down, you've gained time, right? But in order to do that little portion, what it looks like is that you've gone deeper into the corner. So you've pushed wide here towards the curb, right? Now, that's great, but any time that you made up there from here to here was lost again, if you like, and then another bump on here. So, but that was on a good few laps that it happened. So, yes, the orange lap. Let's just try and zoom in a bit here for you. So you had a tighter entry into there, but it looks like it's been pushing you wide all the way around. Basically turn 6, if you like. So I think on your bike, you just managed to have a slightly tighter line, but the reason you had that was because you had a wider entry, if you like. So you kept it neat and tidy through here. Yeah, I think as you exit the turn 4, if you look on up into the bleachers, there's a big red sign that people tend to be heading for. Somewhere over here in Clearways, there's a big red banner. And from your trajectory there, you should be able to see straight at it. But it looks like the orange line you carried perhaps just a little bit higher. It does look like it. In fact, it's equal. Actually, the GPS speed right there. If you look at the GPS speed, it's absolutely equal. You just ran a little bit wide in there, but it looked like that was becoming a trend, right? So for the same speed, you held a tighter line on the green lap, and that gave you just a lovely first clipping point before you ran down here. And by the way, like I said, the GPS is not exactly, it might be off by a foot or two here, so these are not actually your lines. Don't want to annoy you. I know for a fact you touched the curb, and then you've held a tight and tidy line there as well. But the satellites don't draw this lap. It's drawn by accelerometer data, so it may or may not line up with Google Earth perfectly, but you know, we can definitely paint a picture from that. As a matter of fact, if you can bear with me here, this bump is here basically where we had some ambiguity where time's being lost. Your green lap, you're actually doing a great job. I actually see what you're doing now. I've got lean angle over here. It looks like that on the entry, you've given it one big turn here. That's 53 degrees. At the moment, you're 34 on the green lap. But if you can see here that on the orange lap, you were consistently leaned over, which means you couldn't advance the throttle. Whereas on the green lap, it looks like that you got all your turn done in one spot. From there, you're 33 degrees, but in an instant, you've literally maximized that right-hander there. You've gone up to literally 62 degrees of lean angle. This is a calculated lean angle as well, by the way. It does factor in the geometry of the tire. So it would be accurate to about 2 degrees. So that is hauling ass. That's like, you know, it's pretty much as you can get out of a slick tire there. So that's pretty good. I'm going to go back to time distance here just to clear up exactly what it is. So you've literally leaned hard up until this point, and then instantly, if I go back, you've been able to reduce your lean angle. But that means then you've been able to get on the gas. So within a moment, you're back down to a 30-degree lean angle. And so actually kudos. That doesn't even look like someone's in your way. That's just a weird squiggle, but it's the way you've attacked that corner. But what you did was you've now straightened up, obviously, the whole way through turn 6 to allow you to get the power on. And that is pretty obvious then, you know, you get a good drive here. Even though the orange lap you're leaned over, you can actually see here that the orange trace is struggling right there to keep up with the green trace. So you sacrificed some corner speed right there, but you actually got it back nearly instantly. So that was great decision making, I have to say. You know, like I said, not every lap you try that, but on one particular lap, that actually saved you some time, in fairness to it. And that was worth nearly half a second. Because the other laps were, you know, it was this thing here that's causing it. So it was all about that entry into turn 6. So really good riding.